Now I hope you can hear me, everybody. Alex from Pet Partners will let me know if indeed she can hear my audio. I assume if she can, you all can. Thank you very much for joining. I'm sorry, really sorry about the technical glitch, but I was determined to also show you a PowerPoint so I could just sit here and talk to you about this issue, about separation distress during COVID, and how we're going to see and are seeing more of it. You can hear me, yay! Hello, everybody. I hope you all can hear me from wherever the heck you are. During the course of this presentation, I not only don't mind questions, I encourage them. So any questions you have, please ask away. If it's appropriate, I'll just stop right in the middle of what I'm saying and I'll answer the question best I can. Pet Partners, by the way, a great organization. I'm on their scientific advisory board. I'm honored to be in that group of scientific advisors. What they want me there for, I'm still not sure. Shh, but don't tell anyone that. Here's what I do know that you can tell everyone. The organization is fantastic because what they do, it's more than fantastic. It's life-changing, life-saving. And for those of you who are volunteers that have companion animals that go to, well, hospitals, nursing homes, people in hospice, go to libraries, go to stables because you're doing hippotherapy with a horse. No matter what you happen to be doing, if it's with Pet Partners, you're changing lives. So thank you very much for the work you do. I think in a couple of weeks, I'll be talking about cats. I love doing that. But today it's dogs with separation anxiety. And are we going to see more of it as a result of the pandemic that's going on now? So Alex, I will depend on you to tell me if the PowerPoint can be seen. I know I can move my slides. That's a really good sign. So it was my idea, I'm sure others had it too, who are in the world of behavior, a couple of months ago thinking, oh my gosh, we're spending all this time with our companion animals, how wonderful. But now our dogs are going to be like, where are the people when life goes back to whatever the new normal is and we go back to work or we go back to whatever that job is? What Alex, who's sort of the moderator here, wanted me to also talk about that I'll get to a bit, and there's actually a survey done about this, and that's separation anxiety that people are going to have from their dogs. And actually, I'll address that just a little bit. I'm not a human psychologist. I'm a certified animal behavior consultant. I write books about pets. One that I contributed to, had the honor to co-edit, is called Decoding Your Dog. And now Decoding Your Cat is out. Both of those publications, those books, authored by members of the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists. Those are the veterinary behaviorists that put those books together. I've contributed to many others. I host radio shows about pets. I write columns, including for my blog. You'll see the URL for the blog when all is said and done. Everybody says they can hear me. Great. And it is good to see you. I wish I could see you in person, by the way. I'm told to give an introduction. I'm not sure what else to say about me. You can Google me. Oh, I host radio shows, I was saying, about pets. National radio shows, and one on WGN radio right here in Chicago. And I'm trying to think. Oh, I write columns. So if there's a veterinary publication, or for Catster, I write for them as well. And I am grateful to speak around the world about companion animals. Now I can do it from my living room, which is what I'm doing today. So I thought of this as we are home more and more and more and more. We may have a problem with this, with separation distress as a result of being home so much. So I think there are 3 buckets of dogs that will be affected by this. Dogs that previously suffered some separation anxiety, severe or not so severe, either which way, that previously have been treated successfully, but now they have not been given much, if any, opportunity to be left home alone. Huge issue. And I love it so much that all of these shelter dogs have been adopted. Dogs have been rescued. Dogs are being fostered. But now you're there 24/7 with these dogs. That's a great thing for the dogs, great thing for you. But now, how do they feel about being left home alone? And in fact, we know these dogs might be more predisposed to separation anxiety anyway. Also a change. It's a change. And just like all of us can be upset or thrown by changes in our life, so can dogs. And it's hard to predict which dogs. You might know from your own experience if they're your dogs that, okay, you moved from one house to another and the dog was like, oh no. And the dog even did have some separation anxiety that you never previously saw before. So some of that may be predictable, some not. Here's what I do know. Everything I just said has been made up. Really, because we don't know. We've not had this happen before. Scientific studies have not been done on stay-at-home orders and the dog's reactions as a result of pandemics. I mean, no studies have been done on this. So I'm just surmising from what we do know. And we do know a fair amount. We also know that owners say their dog has separation anxiety and the dog may not have any separation anxiety at all. Just because a dog is barking when you're not there, just because a dog is ripping up pillows, it doesn't mean that dog has separation anxiety. The dog might be bored. The dog might be under-exercised. Maybe it's a dog, especially if it's a foster or you've adopted a dog you don't know. Maybe the dog was never taught to be home alone. Maybe the dog really isn't house trained, and that's what those accidents are really about. Again, more often with the dog you adopted and you really don't know. Could be barking because it's a territorial type barking, or it's a terrier. Uh-oh, all those terrier people are gonna scream at me now. But some dogs are just self-reinforced because they love to bark at anything going by. It has little to do with you not being there. Or maybe with you not there, you can't correct the dog to say, stop, and the dog therefore keeps doing it. Canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome is like Alzheimer's in dogs. And we could see separation anxiety that's kind of a different type, different branch of separation anxiety that occurs just because this dog is suffering from canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome. I talk about that a lot in another talk. I'll just touch on that a little today. So is it separation anxiety or isn't it? And you tell me about this dog. If the video starts, hold on 1 second. If the video is not working, please, Alex, let me know. So that cat is like, what's going on there? That video, by the way, goes on and the bed is completely, all the covers are off the bed, the pillows are on the floor, and the caretaker of the pet comes home, the pet parent, and may think that that dog has separation anxiety. In fact, you could see, you don't need to be a behavior consultant to see, that dog is just maybe entertaining the cat. In any case, having a really good time. So what are some signs of separation anxiety? Well, here they are, or at least most of them. You don't need all of them. Most dogs happily don't have all of them. But a dog that has more than one of these definitely has separation distress. So is there a breed predisposition for this? That's a question I get asked all the time. And according to some studies, the answer is yes. Nick Dodman, a veterinary behaviorist, others have looked at this. And here are the breeds that are thought to be more predisposed. Other studies indicate that herding dogs in general and sporting dogs are more predisposed. Nobody knows why. Is there a genetic predisposition? It's conceivable, but I don't know. Nobody does. More than half the dogs that have separation anxiety, it's identified between the age of about 1 to 5 years, and almost all the dogs show more than one sign of anxiety. They have other types of anxieties as well. 20 to 40% of all behavior problems, separation anxiety is a part of it. One reason why I said that shelter dogs may be more overrepresented, we don't know that for sure. Maybe the dog was given up to a shelter because the dog had separation anxiety, right? But it's thought that these dogs, having been in a shelter, and in that environment with their owner saying, no more, don't want you anymore, or maybe the owner passed away, doesn't much matter why the dog is there. Those dogs may, especially dogs rehomed multiple times, may have more separation anxiety. Living in a home where a single adult is there seems to be that those dogs are more at risk, which is interesting. Neutered dogs also, but then is that also because most of our dogs today are neutered? Maybe. Dogs with one anxiety issue, as I said earlier, are thought to have others. And this is from CC Animal Health, but other sources confirm, and other studies confirm, that dogs with one type of anxiety generally have at least one or two other types, if not several other types of anxieties. That's not unusual. Now, some of the treatments, which I'll talk about for canine separation anxiety, actually do help with dogs with other anxieties. And with July 4th right around the corner, it's something we should pay attention to. Although that's a little different because there we have this unexplained, loud, sudden noise, and it's actually arguably adaptive to be surprised and to be afraid of such a loud loud noise. I mean, no one is telling these dogs this is a patriotic holiday. Canine separation anxiety is often underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. So I talked earlier about how the dog may have other issues. The dog may be just having a good time. The dog may not be housebroken or house trained. I don't like the term housebroken. I don't know how you feel. I haven't said that in years. I don't know what made me say that. So the dog may not actually be significantly house trained. That could be an explanation, but it's also undiagnosed frequently also. People don't know because they're not there. They may not have neighbors that tell them that the dog is barking when they're not there. And I'll talk about what we can do about that today in the year 2020 that just a few years ago we weren't necessarily able to do. So we can be proactive if we think that this might be happening to a client's dog or to our dog, or one of those 3 bullet points that I presented at the beginning, things to watch out for, dogs that fall into that bucket. We could do some things right now and determine if it is likely the dog has separation distress. So leave the house. And for some of you still under lockdown, I know that's a challenge without the dog. That's the challenging part. So go away and don't take the dog with you. You don't have to go far. I don't want you to go far. What I do want you to do is to leave some treats on the floor, some kibble on the floor, some really good things. So if your dog's a real chow hound, just regular kibble will do. Otherwise, really good treats. And unless your dog is totally not food motivated, when you come back and if that food is still there, that tells you there's a problem, especially if the second you walk in, the dog begins to scarf up that food. So you're there, now I can eat. Now I feel comfortable doing that. The other thing I'd like you to do when you leave the house or tell your clients to do, if possible, is to get a camera. I mean, today cameras are like 35 bucks. And show your veterinarian what you're seeing, if you possibly can do that, because I know getting in to see a veterinarian can be hard because of COVID, but what you can do is email the footage to your veterinarian. If the picture is like the below right, that dog is smiling, that dog seems to be having a good time, right? If that's the kind of image that you catch. If it's at the below left, well, maybe not such a good time. And your veterinarian, these are just images, but can watch the video and discern. You might be able to tell for yourself whether the dog is having fun or the dog really does seem anxious. There is no validated evaluation or scoring to determine if a dog has separation anxiety. Well, there is now. So this is the link to one put out by CC Animal Health. They make a product that I'll talk about in a bit that can help, as I talk about a lot of products that can help. And you can determine by taking this quiz. It's like, what were like Women's Day magazine or Red Book or those things? I don't know, Cosmopolitan. That's the one I was thinking of, Cosmo. Those quizzes that they used to have in those publications, same idea. You know, you take the quiz, and it's not absolutely scientific, but it will give you some reasonable idea. As well, of course, the truth is in what is seen in that video. Point the video at the door you left from, and you don't need hours of video. Usually, in fact, not always, but usually, dogs with separation anxiety express their anxiety from about a minute to 10 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes after the person left the house. They usually, there certainly are exceptions. Person leaves the house, the dog goes into a corner, happily sleeps, explores a little bit, and then becomes anxious 2 hours later. It usually happens pretty soon after the family is left. So what do you do about it? So there is behavior modification that can help. And I am not going to dispute behavior modification. After all, I'm a certified animal behavior consultant. I support behavior modification. But for this particular problem, using tools really does help. But I do want to talk about the behavior mod, because you can combine methods and combine things that you can do. So usually dogs with separation distress, people will tell me, my dog knows when I'm leaving. They do pick up on your cues. They may even pick up on our smell, you know. And what happens a lot with people with separation anxiety is they become anxious about leaving because they know the dog is going to be anxious, and the dog can probably pick up on that instantly. So eradicate those cues if you can. Take a weekend and go. Just leave. And you have to be the best actor you can possibly be. So you're going to be, I don't know, Tom Hanks or Meryl Streep. You're really going to do a great acting job like you're going. You grab your keys, grab your wallet, grab your purse if you have that, put on your shoes, and out you go, like you're really going somewhere, and you're running late. Except the thing is, you only go for 5 seconds, and then you come back. And the dog, and dogs with separation anxiety are usually over attached to us, are more than just a little happy to see us. That dog, even if you're gone 10 seconds, may go crazy. Just ignore the dog until the dog calms down, then say hello. Sit down, watch TV, do something, doesn't matter what you do the laundry, I don't know. And then randomly, in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whenever you feel like it, do the same thing again and again and again and again and again. And each time what you do is you leave for a little bit longer, but at some time when you're gone for, say, 5 minutes, and if the dog is responding okay, then back it up to 3 minutes, then make it 8 minutes, then make it 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes. You go back and forth with the time, so it's unpredictable to the dog how long you're going to leave. They're called graduated departures. And if you come back and the dog is going absolutely crazy, or you find there's a problem, then you've just simply gone for too long. Or this method is not going to work for your dog. The middle bar there is encourage independence from Velcro dogs. So most of these dogs with separation anxiety, I mentioned Nick Dodman, a veterinary behaviorist, he once called them, and he's right. I think it's the perfect description, the dogs who love too much. How can that be possible for a dog to love too much? Well, these dogs kind of do. They are stuck to us, and they're stuck on us. So try to encourage independence. You could do this inside, for starters, just by telling your dog to sit, stay, or in another room. Give your dog something to do, something really good inside a sterilized bone or a Kong toy or something. And the dog does that in that room. But if the dog comes back to you, you simply bring it back to that room. You may have to do it 100 times. But what you want to do is encourage and teach the dog, I can be fine in the next room or 2 rooms over. And then eventually make it, if you have an upstairs or downstairs, make it upstairs or downstairs. We're trying to encourage independent thought and also a feeling that I could be alone, even if they're there in another room. Here's what you should never, ever, 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 ever do, and that's punish your dog.
Back from lunch, and why are you so guilty, Bunny?
Guilty? Look for
What is so guilty?
What did you do? Huh? What did you do?
So there are so many videos like this on the web. It became a thing for a while, guilty dogs. Do dogs really feel guilty when they destroy a pillow or urinate or defecate when you're not there and you come back and they feel bad about what they did 10 minutes ago or 3 hours ago? The answer is absolutely not. What they are doing is responding to you. So they're picking up on all kinds of signals. These people are not yelling at the dog, but they don't need to. This dog is picking up on all kinds of signals. And what you're seeing is deference. You are not seeing guilt. Now, maybe dogs do feel guilt about some things. That's a different discussion. But we know they don't remember. They cannot. They're dogs. So they cannot put it together that I come home and I shouldn't have peed on the floor 2 hours ago. And frankly, even 5 minutes ago. Beside, what these people are unknowingly doing is creating more anxiety in the dog. It's separation anxiety. So what you want to do is diminish anxiety, not add to it. Again, this is one of the big misnomers about separation anxiety. So there's all sorts of products out there that can help. And the good news is these products on this page could be used as well as behavior modification, the bottom bullet point, in conjunction with one another. Now, why wouldn't you use all of these? Well, I suppose so, and that's a bit overdoing it. And some of these cost money, and I don't want to cost people more money than they need to spend. But you can pick and choose with a conversation with a behavior consultant or your veterinarian or veterinary technician. I'll go through them quickly. Adaptil is a pheromone product. So when mommy dogs nurse their puppies, there's a pheromone when they lactate in that milk, and that's a calming pheromone. Adaptil is a copy of that pheromone. It could be a plug-in that you plug in to like a diffuser, like a air freshener kind of thing, and you plug it into the wall and you just leave it for 30 days. Nothing to do. It's easy. So that's a good thing. It diminishes anxiety and helps dogs feel comfortable in their own environment. For dogs with dramatic or extreme separation anxiety, it's not going to do much to touch it. But for dogs with mild anxiety or mild anxiety issues of any kind, Adaptil truly can help. Calming care is fascinating. It's a probiotic. So why a probiotic? Well, researchers, and it's made by Purina, incidentally, researchers have now discovered that our gut and brain are connected in ways that no one previously thought. So by enhancing your gut with the supplement that is in, with a lot of letters and numbers after its name, this specific probiotic, it actually works to help calm anxious dogs in general. Not necessarily only separation anxiety, but just generally anxious dogs. That includes separation anxieties. I'm getting to the medication part in a moment, Sharon. Calmer Canine, I'll get to that. Wait, you're ahead of me. Hi, Taylor. Just waving to a fellow Chicagoan. The Thunder Shirt, the Anxiety Wrap, the Storm Defender. These are all things that dogs can wear. And it's thought to have a swaddling effect. Now, the Storm Defender also says, well, we have something electromagnetic in it, and that'll help dogs feel more comfortable in thunderstorms. Maybe it does. All of these products do seem to help some dogs a lot, but not all dogs. And that's the thing. For all of these things, what helps one dog may not necessarily help another dog. The Thunder Ease is a Thunder shirt with Adaptil. You kind of get a twofer. Zentrol and Zilkene are both nutritional supplements. And I'll talk about where you can get all these in a moment, Rosie. They are both nutritional supplements. Zilkene is the one that has a bit more science behind it. and that is a milk-based product. So, you know how great grandma said, you want to relax because you're all upset about that big test tomorrow, or you're all nervous about meeting with your new boss tomorrow? Take a glass of milk before you go to bed, warm milk. Well, this is kind of a version of that. And again, it does seem to help a lot of dogs. CBD, that's what I get asked about more than anything else. And I don't know the answer because studies have not yet been done about CBD with anxiety in companion animals. In people, just a little bit. CBD has been shown to help dogs with seizures. Colorado State University has done some work there. I'm not saying it doesn't work. In fact, I think it probably does. Here's the other problem, though. Which CBD product do you get? Because they're not all the same. And some of these products, when you look at the ingredients, have things in them you would never want in anything you'd ever give a dog. So talk to your veterinarian and talk about which CBD product makes the most sense. I think that in between sometime later this year and 2022, we are going to see a lot more information about CBD products specifically for dogs, to a lesser extent for cats, and the good that those products can do, but we're just not there yet. But it's an area of interest for me. I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying be careful because some of these products have actually things, as I say, things in them you would never want your dog to have. Literally, you know, they have trace amounts, but it shouldn't have any amounts. We wouldn't accept that in human products. We should not accept that in anything for our dogs or cats as well. And in some CBD human products, the same is true. So there's no regulation, and that's the issue. Psychopharmaceuticals. Well, for dogs with extreme separation anxiety, yeah, what you're doing with these products like fluoxetine, which is Prozac, or clomipramine, which is the brand name Clomicalm, and there are others out there as well. And I'm not going to go into detail because I'm not a veterinarian and I'm not a veterinary behaviorist. What I will tell you is the job of these drugs is to adjust brain chemistry to make it possible to learn and to make it possible for all these other things that I've rattled off to help a bit more than they normally would. You can't learn when you are exceedingly anxious. The brain doesn't allow you to do that. Now, there is a product that I'll talk about in a moment that one of you mentioned that allows the brain to do that. That might, he says, might be a substitute for drugs that I'm very excited about. And I'll talk to you about that in a moment. But I am a fan. You know, listen, if it means giving up the dog because the neighbors are complaining and the landlord won't take it anymore, or coming home to find things destroyed in your household and the human-animal bond is going to fracture, I'm absolutely for these drugs. They take a while to kick in depending on the drug, but there's a combination that your veterinarian can use, by the way, that can have a more instant effect, and then a drug that you continue to use that'll have a more long-lasting effect, if that makes any sense. But again, I'm going to stop right there because that I don't talk about veterinary medicine. So, music, having the TV or radio on. In fact, there's music that actually has been created to relax dogs. And it does seem to work. I mean, when that notion first came about, I thought, well, that's crazy. You know, what? But science, I'm a fan of science. And multiple studies have demonstrated. In fact, classical music seems to be the most common music to relax dogs or cats. But for dogs, there was one study that showed reggae music actually helps to calm dogs. Reggae music gives a whole new meaning to Marley and me. And of course, I talked about behavior modification. And you can use behavior modification in conjunction with any of these, and you can use many of these in combination with one another. So here's sort of the pros and cons of some of this. And it greatly repeats everything I just said, that there's pros to some of these things, and there's cons to some of these things. The other thing that I didn't included are some of the herbal products out there. And the only reason, again, is that, yes, if they work for you or your client, great, but there's no science so far to demonstrate that they can. So behavior modification, I talked about graduated departures. I talked about encouraging independence. I talked a bit about calm returns. So you go to the store and your spouse, when you come back, says hi. We go to the store and our dog goes crazy, and we tend to go even crazier. So your dog jumps up and down and says, hello, 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 hello. I can't believe it. I missed you. You were gone forever, and you've been gone a half hour. But then you say, oh my gosh, my little doggy, oh, I miss you so much. You're the best thing in the world. That just feeds into it. It doesn't cause the problem. If anyone says that causes the problem, they're wrong. But it does feed into it. And what I instead tell people to do is ignore the dog. Yes, ignore the dog. It's hard until the dog calms down. The dog eventually will calm down. When the dog calms down, pet the dog. The dog will go crazy again. Withhold the petting, withhold the talking to the dog, and wait until the dog calms down again. You're essentially training the dog to be calm when you come home, which is actually a good, safe thing anyway. If you have older people in the house or young children in the house and a larger dog that can knock them down. But moreover, what I'm working for is trying to teach this dog it's okay to be happy. I want you to be. This is why we love dogs, right? We come home and they are always happy to see us. But when they are over the top, that extreme, that's not normal anymore. Exercise is not going to cause, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Won't cause separation anxiety, and it won't prevent it either, which is what I meant to say. Exercise is not going to prevent separation anxiety. If you have a dog truly with separation anxiety and you exercise that dog for 5 miles right before you leave the house, now you have a tired dog with separation anxiety. Having said that, it can help. Appropriate exercise and absolutely an enriched environment will help. That should always be a part of the treatment protocol. But it's not going to solve the problem, and it's not going to prevent the problem solely. Enriched environments, though, are a huge, huge part of everything we now know for dog behavior. So I've just given you 5 bullet points of things to do. We know that 5 or more instructions is a compliant disaster. It's confusing to people. How do I do that? How do I do these graduated departures? And the problem with those, among other things, is, okay, you could do that for a weekend, but then Monday you're gone. You're at work all day. You can't do that anymore. So you could have a pet sitter come in or a dog walker come in, sure. It's tough. And that is a part of why it's so tough to deal with separation anxiety, because behavior modification alone can do the trick, but it's tough. And it's challenging for some people to understand how to do, to be consistent in doing. You've got different family members of different ages. It can be a challenge. What people want now is a magic pill. And yes, a psychopharmaceutical can be a magic pill, but then a lot of people don't want to give their dog a magic pill. They don't want to give their dog a pharmaceutical, but they want instant soup. They want an answer tomorrow, and they might need it. The landlord may be saying, you know what, that dog's got to go if we can't do something about it. And it's important not only because of the reality of that, one of the reasons for relinquishment of our dogs, but it's also important because of the quality of life for the dog. That dog with separation distress is more than oftentimes just distressed. That's not even a strong enough word, and our hearts go out for these dogs. We feel, as we should, really badly for these dogs that we don't know what they're thinking. It has been said that they're thinking we're never coming back again. I don't think that's the case. We don't know that. I just think they can't deal with our being not there. And that's going to be harder potentially right now because we have been there 24/7. So someone asked me to talk about this, and lo and behold, I'm excited to talk about it. It's a new product, and it's using electromagnetic fields, specifically targeted pulsed electromagnetic fields. It's called the Calmer Canine. And I like it for a whole lot of reasons. First of all, it's not a drug. Second of all, most importantly, and there's nothing wrong with drugs. I didn't mean to say it that way. If the drug works, I think that's fine. But a lot of people don't want to use a drug. Also, there's no side effect. Drugs, of course, can have, any drug, a side effect. And in addition to that, should have been number one on the list. It seems to work. It really seems to work. So instead of using chemistry, which is what drugs are, this uses physics, which is woo-woo. It's amazing, right? The device emits electromagnetic fields. And what it does is it increases the production of nitrous oxide, which inhibits pro-inflammatory cytokines and increases anti-inflammatory cytokines. Cytokines are a broad and loose category of small proteins. This is all really fancy stuff, right? So here it is in English. What we want to see actually is a minimization of the swelling of the brain. Who knew that? So when dogs are exceedingly anxious, a part of their brain actually swells, first of all. And also, we see less production of endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine. That is the case. We know that. That is the case in dogs. And if we can reverse that impact or effect, how great is that? And that's what this product does. I hope I explained it well there, because I know it's complicated to explain. Here's what it looks like. It looks like a little halo over the dog's head. You can either hold it over the dog's head, or a dog like this one can wear a harness. 2 15-minute sessions a day. As I said, it could be handheld, or there's a vest or harness that can hold it for you. The treatment is done when somebody is home. 4 to 6 weeks. One treatment course usually does the trick. If the dog has extreme separation anxiety, it may take a little longer to totally do the trick. And by the way, it does help with other anxieties as well, which is a really good thing. So studies have been done on this, and it demonstrates essentially that the product works and the dog's improved dramatically so. So here's one example. If I had more time and a longer talk, I could be able to show you more. So it's a beagle doing what beagles do. The dog is howling, but it keeps howling. So a beagle, you go away, is going to howl a little bit, but Elliot here is doing nothing else. Now, also, you see Kong toys that have favorite treats in here. Beagles are typically chow hounds, and they want those favorite treats, but not here because the owner's left. Also, you can see there's destruction happening as well. So that's before the fact. And after the fact, oh, this is not working right. Let's see if, there we go. I didn't let the video play long enough. So you can see the difference here, before and after. And by the way, the after video, which should be here. Yeah, so here we have Elliot doing some exploring. On this video, I forwarded it too far. I can go back if you want to see. There we go. It's right there too. Elliot's busy with the toy, doing what dogs should do when people are away. Acting totally normal, dealing with the fact that people are away. Huge difference. And the only thing used here was the Calm the Canine, which can be used absolutely in conjunction with other products I talked about. So this could be instead of medications, or you could have a lower dose of medications and still use this. Multimodal therapies are still a good thing. I'm all for that. It can jumpstart an improvement in stalled cases. And older dogs with a lower tolerance for medication side effects, this can be particularly beneficial as well. This is what it looks like on these dogs called little angels. So here's what we know does not ever work. Getting another pet. People say, well, I'll get a dog for my dog so my dog won't have separation anxiety. No. Sometimes then you have 2 dogs with separation anxiety. The dogs learn it from one another. That actually does happen. And sometimes having another dog there will help, but by and large it doesn't. The other thing that never works is do nothing. You know, people actually say, if I do nothing about it, the dog will figure that I'm coming back. Sure, smart dog. He'll know I'm coming back. Give it a month. He'll figure it out. And usually, not always, again, but usually those dogs, in fact, get worse rather than better. So here are some resources for you if you're interested as well. And here's me. So I hope you like me on Facebook. I hope you like me anyway. And here are some books I've contributed to and or authored. And feel free to check those out. I'm very excited about Decoding Your Cat. And you could also find me in social media on Instagram right there, as well as Twitter. And I think I have like 10 minutes or so for questions. If you guys have questions, and I'll see, I tried to answer some of the questions as I was there. I changed that so I could see. So we just adopted a dog. We're worried about separation anxiety for sure. German Shepherd dog, owner give up. Yeah, so owner give ups are sometimes more predisposed. He says sometimes more predisposed, hard to say. But there is data to indicate that. But the dog could have been given up potentially because the dog had separation anxiety in the first place. Let's see, that is my dog's neurologist said. CBD because no research yet. He has epilepsy. So dogs, I'm just going to go up to where my expertise is and stop. We know that studies have been done regarding dogs and epilepsy. It's a limited study. It was done at Colorado State University. But we know that it can help in people. I'm talking about CBD. People under some circumstances, there are different kinds of epilepsies, different kinds of seizures. That limited study did indicate positively that at least one CBD product truly did help dogs. And that was Colorado State University College of Veterinary Medicine. Certainly more needs to be done. Any other questions? I am more than happy to answer or try to answer. I'm grateful that you're all here. I wish you a happy July 4th. I could give a talk about fireworks, but the Calmer Canine can actually help for that too. Adaptil can help a bit. Certainly the probiotic that I mentioned can help. Depends how fearful the dog is too. So does the dog just look up to the sky, hearing fireworks, and then pace a little bit and then be able to, on his or her own, relax? Getting help doing that is good. That would be recommended. But that's very different than a dog that hears fireworks and bolts all over the house and urinates or defecates or jumps into your arms and is absolutely terrified, you know? So you have different levels of dogs. And there is a pharmaceutical that is specifically for dogs with noise aversion. So for a lot of dogs with fireworks anxiety, it is solely noise aversion. For many dogs, they're actually smelling the fireworks if you're nearby. They're feeling the vibrations of the fireworks also, but still, it's greatly about noise aversion. So ask your veterinarian about that because that really can be helpful, and it works. It works like right then. The most known side effect is some drowsiness, but I'd rather have a dog be slightly drowsy than be terrified. And then after July 5th or 6th, it's over. You stop it. Thank you for your kind words, Marissa. Would I say, what is normal anxiety? I don't know what you mean. I don't know. So there is a level. So it is actually adaptive for dogs and people and other species to suffer from some anxiety on occasion. The ability to quickly get over that anxiety appropriately is what defines normal and from abnormal. And with separation anxiety, dogs that truly have that, it happens every time the person leaves, and doing nothing about it, as I said, in fact, it can get worse. Glad I can make it. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Maybe I haven't seen some. Seems to have a lot of anxiety right after we leave, like you mentioned, but our cameras also show it starts again about 30 minutes before we come home. So that's fascinating. I don't know the price of the Calmer Canine Carry-On. It's going to go up on Amazon, or I think it is available that way. But for any of these things, absolutely include your veterinarian. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I just don't know the cost. I don't know. But let me get back to the question about, so is the dog actually suffering anxiety before you come back home, or does the dog know that you're coming back home? And it seems that some dogs that are incredibly bonded with us somehow know, and there have been a couple studies done on this actually. Sheldrake, I think was the guy's last name, who wrote a book about this and actually studied this, that no matter which direction at times, and even if they walked home as opposed to driving, so they park a half a mile away, so it's not the car they're hearing. How do they know that that person is arriving back home? And it's one of the mysteries we still don't know. But some dogs do seem to have that ability. So I wonder if that dog just knows, hooray, they're coming home, and it's not true separation anxiety. I don't know the answer to that. I could see a video and tell if it's true anxiety, though. And if it's true anxiety, then, and it seems as though that dog has anxiety, you said right when you leave, you should be treating that. I missed most of it. I'll do it again. I'm happy to do it again. You guys ready? I'll start from the first slide. I think it will be available on the web, but you have to ask the Pet Partners people that, and some are watching, and perhaps they can answer that question. I have a friend. Thank you for great information and new options to try. Yay. I have a friend with a boxer mix that has destroyed kennels and broke through doors. That's the thing. So some people, and it's still online in places too, that just crate train the dog. For some dogs, okay, but for many dogs with true separation anxiety, being in a crate actually makes matters worse. And they can hurt themselves trying to get out of that crate. So a dog with real separation anxiety should not be crate trained. And then you're asking me, well, then what about my sofa? What about the accidents in the house? What about? You know, no easy answer to that one. For some of those dogs, what you can do is gate them off in a larger room where the dog cannot do as much damage, such as a kitchen. But then they may find a way to push the gate down. They want to be at that door that you departed from. Let's see. Thanks for this. I actually have Decoding Your Dog. I did not know that. That was me. Oh, thank you. I'm proud to wear this. I got dressed up for you, commenting about my shirt. And Decoding Your Cat. Yeah, Decoding Your Cat is about to come out, which I'm really very excited about. Also authored by members of the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists. And I was honored to write the foreword for that book. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer. If in 10 seconds you have more questions you can ask me, I will take one or two more. But other than that, I just want to thank Pet Partners for the opportunity. I'm doing another one of these, I don't know when, in 2 weeks maybe, but I'm not sure it's 2 weeks to the day, where I'm talking about enrichment for cats, the importance of enriching their lives. We do live in a nation filled with brain-dead fat cats, and I will talk about that topic. And how do you know when I'm speaking? So you can go to the Pet Partners Facebook page, or you could sign up for my newsletter at stevedale.tv, the website you see there. It's a free newsletter, but I indicate in there where I'm speaking. Sometimes it used to be another country or another state for sure. I live in Chicago. Now it's which room I'm going to be talking on my computer from and to whom. But that's okay. This soon will end, maybe. I think I'm done. So again, I want to thank you all very much. I hope you could join me, for those of you who are cat lovers too, and I hope some of you are, in a couple of weeks, and sign up for my newsletter to find out exactly when that's going to be, or check it out on the Facebook page for Pet Partners. Thank you, Pet Partners, and thank you all for being here. I hope I helped some.